I lost my job last year in February. That was a blessing in disguise. I did not see it coming, I did not expect it, but it happened anyways. But that gave me time to focus on my business, which I have been pulling on the side for some years now. That year, 2024, my business saw an increase in over 400% growth in sales, 400% in 1 year. The next year, 2025, we just started the second quarter of 2025 and the business is struggling. I've been having several thoughts in my head. In this video, I'm going to tell you about my experience starting the business in Germany as a migrant entrepreneur. But more importantly than starting the business, I want you to follow my journey. I want you to follow my story. I do believe I've had my own fair share of mistakes and you don't have to make those mistakes. So stay with me in this video. My name is Mike. Welcome to Immigrant Hub, and I'm very happy to have you here today. I've been living in Germany for over 10 years now, and I am the CEO of Soft, the company that is behind Settling and Travel, and obviously this channel that you're watching here. This is my first time of talking about my business because I feel like it's about time that I begin to share my journey with other young entrepreneurs that they can also see and learn from my mistakes and also learn from my experience. I genuinely believe that we do not have to make the same mistakes twice. I think it's fair enough if one person has made that mistake. So in this video, I'm going to try to tell you some of the key things that you need to keep in mind when thinking about starting a business in Germany. I'd like you to know that Germany as a country, their economy thrives on the back of SMEs, and that means small and medium scale enterprises. What this translates for you is that it's really easy for you to start a business in Germany. And if you know your way, then you're really going to succeed. And that means that you can create a sustainable business as a migrant entrepreneur. It is very sad that we live in a country like Germany, the fourth economy in the world, and we're not tapping into it. I genuinely believe that all the entrepreneurs out there are not tapping enough into the space. I am seeing this, I am experiencing this firsthand, and I want you to understand more about the potentials that exist for you, so that you can be the best versions that is expected of a migrant entrepreneur. A lot of studies have shown how innovative, how motivational, but most importantly, how resilient we migrant entrepreneurs are. And it's true. I mean, just taking that bold step to leave your home country and come to another country, it's huge. That is in itself entrepreneurial. So what that translates to is, by default, if you're living in abroad, then you already have some entrepreneurial spirit in you. Of course, I could not cover everything in this video, but the goal is to begin this conversation and that we collectively will come together and learn from each other's experience. The first thing I want you to know when you're thinking about starting a business in Germany is just start. Do not overthink it. You know why? It's going to take you a much longer time to run the business than for you to keep brainstorming. One mistake that people do is when they think about what business they want to do, or if they have some ideas, they start thinking about all the legal stuff. I'm not saying the legal stuff are not important, no, but that's not the first thing you want to do. The question is, what stage are you right now? Are you a student who just moved to Germany, or are you someone who's working, or you've been working for several years? The stage that you are will determine the first step that you take in the business. But in general, I still recommend that the first step is the ideation stage, that you have the idea in your head, that you find a way to bring it from your head into something that people can relate with. Just keep aside everything registration. A lot of people stress about registering the business, which legal form to take or not to take. You're far from there yet. If you are someone who creates content, I genuinely encourage you that you have a backup to that content that you create. Begin to already build business around it. Because a lot of content creators, they create very valuable content, but they don't really take the time to connect it with a business. You're creating content and your focus is solely to earn from that platform. Be it YouTube, for example, or Instagram or TikTok. Those are great platforms, but know that what you have 100% control of over is really what's yours, because whatever could happen to those platforms and boom, all your sweat is gone. My first point to those who want to start a business in Germany or are already in the business in Germany is this: if you are a content creator, then think about having your own brand, setting up your platform, like where the leads actually come into something, into a place that you have 100% control of. Coming back to the first point again, I'd like to emphasize this, that Germany thrives on SMEs, and that means the potentials are enormous. You cannot believe how much is in the space. in Germany. A lot of my colleagues and I, we always talk about how the finance in Germany is not very liquid, or the economy in Germany is not very liquid. And what that means for us is that you don't see the cash flowing, especially within the migrant entrepreneur space. A lot of migrants are struggling to have, funding for their business. They have great ideas, but they're struggling with having funding in their business. I'm going to talk about this point in a moment. But before that, the first thing I want you to know is this: just start. Do not overthink it. And what this translates to is this: what is that idea that you have? What's your business model? What's your business plan? How are you going to make money from it? Before you begin to do anything, I genuinely recommend that you take the time to make all this necessary documentation. This is not necessarily a business class. That's not what I want to do here. But the first thing I want to tell you is this: think about the idea through and have some documentation. The legal registration is not the first part that you have to worry about. It is completely allowed in Germany that you test your idea, be it a physical product or a service. You test it, you do some market research, some competitor analysis, do some networking. Then when you know you're sure of the viability of the business, then you begin to think about registration. But before that, explore what are the possibilities. And I genuinely recommend that the first thing that you do is write down all the ideas. And then what's the business model of that business or concept going to look like? What business plan do you have? You would be surprised that a lot of entrepreneurs that do not have a business plan. I was one of them too. When I started, there was no business plan, no business model. I was just passionate about what I wanted to do, and that's also fine. But again, this is what makes the difference between those who just come, boom, they succeed, and those of us who have to pull for a long time before we make it. I'm genuinely believing that you're going to be like those first people, that they learn from here and then they understand where to start from. There are so many types of businesses. We could not talk about all of them in this conversation. But what we definitely can talk about is the first step. And that first step is this: how is the business going to make money? That you think that through before you take any other action. After you've thought about that through, the next thing you want to do is serious market research. A lot of businesses do not think about that. Again, when you think very small about your business, that's also the result that you're going to get. You need to do market research. This is something I also don't like. A lot of entrepreneurs that just want to boom, go straight to the idea, build a website, create media accounts, blah, 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 but they don't take the time to do the research. You have to do the research, because when you do the research, then you understand how much is in that market for you, how much is going to come for you, how much money do you need before you can start anything. It is really important that you do this. You need to do this market analysis so that you understand the potential within the space that you're tapping into. And by doing this, it helps you understand your business further, because you have the idea, but it's not very clear for you how that translates to in practice. And this is leading me to my third point, which a lot of migrant entrepreneurs do not pay attention to. They are doing everything alone. I did it, most of my friends did it, we are still doing it, but it's not supposed to be that way. Can you imagine that the business that I started as far back as 2018, it was until 2024 that I actually started preparing a serious pitch deck. That is 6 fucking years later. But 6 years later, who does that? Which serious business is supposed to do that? Of course, I could give different reasons. I was working, I had full-time job, blah, blah, blah. But again, it could be different. I'm going to come to that point in the moment again, and you see how everything connects. The market research will help you understand what are the possibilities in where you're going to. And again, you're already building the foundation for how you're going to get the necessary finance for your business. I do recommend bootstrapping, so that you do not already upfront start thinking about where to get money from or not get money from, and you're really frustrated. Especially for most of us who we start by having a full-time job on one side, and then we also creating the business on the other side. So bootstrapping is good, but the problem with bootstrapping, if you don't pay attention to it, is that you're earning from one business source, and that gives you relatively capital for your business on the side, and it makes you kind of lazy. I had this experience firsthand. For 6 years, I was bootstrapping straight. I am still bootstrapping anyways, but then I was not really paying attention to the details that I need to pay attention to when I'm running the business. And these key points, I was not doing them. I was focused on just hiring people, paying them, doing this, doing that, lots of stuff. At some point, some of my friends were calling me that, Mike, you're a mafia. We see you in everything. What exactly are you doing? That's kind of both my strength and my weakness, I must say. But again, things could actually evolve nicely for you at the end of the day, the same way that they are evolving for us at Ojirasoft today. When you check all the different brands that we have, Ojirasoft, Settling, Scoring, Jackpot Travel, Opportunity Pulse, both the brands that we have directly and in partnership with other businesses, they are connected to the same space, the migration space. However, I did not see this from the beginning, but I would think today that I'm lucky that it evolved into that and things are becoming more consolidated. And now I'm paying more and more attention to my time, who I spend time with, whose call I take, whose email I respond to, and all this kind of stuff. Because I think that I have a better picture of what I want to do right now, and it's helping me to focus. But it does not need to take you 6 years to learn this. You could already start doing this from the beginning if you follow the steps which I am explaining to you. And by the way, I wrote a detailed article about this, which will tell you all the steps, the things that you need to know, what to pay attention to, because I can't cover all of them here. And this is going to be a series of further conversations. So first, the business plan, the business model, the market analysis, so that you know exactly who are you going to sell to. Now, when you have this, I genuinely recommend that you already begin to shortlist funding and support opportunities. Now, it's going to look like, hey, that's too much work, but these things are important for you because the earlier you know about them, the better. Why? Because certain funding opportunities, they require that your business is not registered. Others require that your business is registered. So you're going to see different options and you have to weigh which one is going to give me the best result. And it's best if you've not done that registration. And again, that's why I said registration does not have to come first. Also, these funding networks, before you can access them, they have basic requirements. What's your business plan? What's your business model? What does the market look like? You're going to keep asking these questions because again, you need to come out as someone who's serious and really know what you're doing. And that's why I'm mentioning all these things as what you need to pay more attention to. Now, I do recommend you have a list of all those funding opportunities. In the article that I talked about, some of them are listed, but trust me, they are more than enough. More than enough. You don't have to stress about them. So once you have a clearer picture of what your business is all about, then it becomes easier to narrow down your focus on which funding opportunities to access. But if you don't take that first step, then you're just all over the place like many of us were. Now the next thing is adapting to the local market and culture. This is really important. A lot of businesses within the migrant space that I have seen, they tend to focus again within the migrant space, which is both good and bad. But you have to think about the purchasing power of the people that are going to kickstart your business and also the size of the market. Again, some business ideas are very specific to a certain target group that you cannot actually go outside of those target group. But then the question is, how far do you want to go? How big are you thinking? I generally recommend that your business is able to expand beyond a tiny target audience. It's okay to have a niche and start from there, but it should have the potential to expand because that's when everything becomes interesting. Now, talking about adapting to the local market and culture, what I mean here is this: you need the local market. And what the local market means is Germany. You should have clients that are purchasing your product or taking your services within Germany. Why? Because there's a higher purchasing power here. And if you can also adapt it within the EU, it would make a lot of sense. What I have seen is a lot of business within the migrant space are revolving primarily from their home country, trying to connect their home country with Germany. There's nothing wrong with that, because that's also an advantage that you have as a migrant entrepreneur. However, you have to think about the purchasing power. Why? Because you need that initial base to gain traction for your business. So if your business is one that can actually connect to the local market, then I recommend tap into that. And how can you tap into the local market? That's when you tap into the business space in Germany, networking across different communities that exist, networking across different platforms that exist, networking across different conferences that exist. If I knew these things that I'm telling you 5-6 years ago, I think things would probably be different. I am beginning to do those things now. You think about these network opportunities and you meet people, then you share your ideas with them. You're doing several things. You're both validating that concept. You're both seeking first, time customers, but more importantly, you're creating the network that you need. And do not forget, when we talk about the entrepreneur space or wealth creation, there are different types of wealth basically. What you're doing right now, you're building the social wealth, which every business needs. There's capital wealth, which is essential, but there's also the social wealth, because what I've come to understand is this. Everyone knows this. They say your network determines your net worth. The people that you know are more important than the things that you know, especially if you know the right people. And you can't know the right people if you're just at home. You can't know the right people if you're not going out. You can't know the right people if you're not, making the efforts to make the right connection. What I have seen which is really lacking is people keep within their immediate circle, because it's kind of easy to navigate around those people. But you have to go outside of that circle before you can make anything serious. I genuinely tell you that. It would interest you to know that The first accelerator program that I attended after founding Ojirasoft officially back in 2021 was in 2024, and that was in Frankfurt. Before then, somehow I started getting into the whole startup ecosystem, connecting with people, and somehow I stumbled on this platform, the Migrant Accelerator. I stumbled on them, I signed up, joined the Slack channel, and then got the invitation to the first events, in my case, to join them for a physical event. Just that evening, the few conversations that I had, the way it pushed me forward, it's like if I had started with that, I would be in a completely different league right now. But frankly speaking, I do not regret anything. No, I feel like everything worked out the way it did, but then it all happened that way also because of lack of knowledge, not having the right information. But that's not the case for you today. So the question is, how are you going to use the information which you're getting? If you are starting a business, if you plan to start a business, if you are already in it, I do recommend that you get in touch for us to talk and see how we can take you from where you are now to the next level. And if you don't feel like you're on the stage to talk, then I genuinely recommend that you take the points that I'm making in this video seriously. Best case would be if you've not even started your business. The next point is still connected to the last 2 points, is leveraging on the support networks that exist around other migrant entrepreneurs. There are those of us that are far ahead, there are those in the middle, there are those who are just starting. You have to know who is at what stage. And this brings me to a very key part, event within the migrant entrepreneur space. Because it's a lot easier for you to relate with other people that come from the same country as you. But what's more important is that you also tap into their network. Because like I mentioned before, you're not keeping your network just to the people that are from your home country or the people that look like you, but rather you're also expanding it and connecting with the locals. The locals are very important. You have to keep that in mind because we all need each other. We're coming with different perspectives. We're coming with different vibes. We're coming with different motivations, but most importantly, we're coming with different forces. There are those of us that are coming with cross-border forces. And these are explained in the article which I mentioned. Last year, 2024, I lost my business, and then that gave me more than enough time to focus solely on Ojirasoft. That also gave me time to see what the hell was happening within the company and all the people that I hired. Before the end of the year, I think maybe like 40% were gone. And then as I'm talking to you right now, the team has been really trimmed. The reason I'm saying this is because one mistake that we make is we start with so many people on our team. No, you need to operate a lean team. This is going to help you at different levels, not just saving on cost, but also taking decisions, operations, who does what. If you're able to start solo, that would be the best case. But if your business needs a co-founder and then a couple of people to take care of some tasks, that's also fine. But if there's one thing that I want you to learn and take from this conversation today is this: registering your business is not the first thing that you have to do. There are many factors that come before that. It's important to know which legal form of your business to take, 100%, but just keep that aside. What you need is a thorough understanding of what you actually want to do. And the only way this can be revealed to you is through a detailed business plan. The business plan is also going to include the business model. It will include the market analysis. It's going to tell you how you're going to make money. It's going to tell you who is doing what, the competitive analysis or the competitor analysis, and so many more things. This is not supposed to be a business class. I'm not necessarily a business coach, but what I know that you can learn from me is that I'm going to be sharing my journey right here with you, and I do encourage you to follow. If this is your first time here, consider, doing what you're supposed to do so that you get informed about my content in the space. I am the CEO of Ojirasoft, and we are creating sustainable solutions within the migration space. And what that translates to is that check out all our products and see how they're connected. Thank you for stopping by today. I'm very happy that you took the time to listen to everything I have to say to you. If you have questions, please leave them in the comments. I'm going to be going through them and responding to them. Check out the article which I mentioned, and I hope to see you around soon. Cheers.